Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for budget review. That's all we have on the agenda tonight, so we'll jump right into it.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could just go through a couple of items.
Certainly. Town manager overview to start with.
So to give a quick overview of where we are in the 2024 budget process, number one, as I alluded to you, my goal on this entire budget for the general fund was to try and bring in a 9.75% increase. Unfortunately, I was not able to be successful in that. So when you look at the budget from all perspectives, the percentage increase for the general fund is 17.89%. The water fund is 15.15%. The electric fund is 1.20%. The sewer fund is 8.35%. And the Pop Whalen is an increase of 0.7%. All in, that's $3,383,219, or 10.9% increase. What that looks like graphically, Pop Whalen makes up 1% of the budget. General fund is 58% of the budget. Water fund is 5%. Electric fund, I really can't quite make that out. I think I can't 31. See what the number is, 31. And then the sewer, Brad?
5%.
5%. I will say that actively we're working with our rate consultants with the water and the sewer funds to ensure that we're in good position moving forward with some of the capital projects coming on board. Some of the capital projects being proposed, and the operating budget. As I alluded to you the other night, of that 17.9% increase, 70,000 of that is within the executive budget, 25 is within the town manager's budget, 200,000 is programmed for a reevaluation. We have an RFP out right now for reevaluation. Health insurance is 339,000. Now, mind you, that is set normally in mid-November. Right now, it's programmed with a 10% placeholder as recommended by our health care provider. I will tell you, we will not exceed the 10%, what we're understanding, and some communities not terribly far from us are experiencing a 25% increase in their health insurance. I'm not sure how to get rid of that. Can you help me out up there? Property and liability insurance, 1.1% increase. Ambulance service, this was a late hitter on us. This was a 2.8% increase. If you recall, we entered into a fire apparatus lease purchase. That first lease payment will be in the fire department's operating budget at $82,500. Streets and highways, maintenance supplies, road treatment, etc. We're looking at a $111,000 increase. Solid waste, $184,000. That's mostly tipping fees and hazardous waste. Debt service, this is a big one, $565,000. That's a 3.34% increase in the budget. Sewer transfer, we did those sewer line extensions. That's a $71,000 increase. One of the changes in this year's budget is normally at this time you haven't seen any wage adjustments because we're still in union negotiations where we have a collective bargaining agreement in place. Non-union wage adjustments right now are 3.5%, approximately $80,000. The AFSCME agreement recognizes a 3.5% increase, with the police union a 3% increase. Last year, the police saw a 5.5% and the AFSCME saw a 5%, so they're equal over time. And then the last item, if you recall, last year or this year we hired one firefighter. Next year we're hiring another firefighter. to bring the complement to the 3 over 3 years. That complement of of a full-time employee this year is $102,000, including health insurance. Those items alone make up 15.4% of the 17.9% increase. General fund capital outlay requests, there's $60,970 worth of requests. You'll visit 2 of those items this evening. The water fund has some requests, as does electric, which we're still waiting on pricing, and sewer as well is looking at expenses. Again, both water and sewer, we are awaiting feedback from our rate consultant to ensure that we're in a good position to be able to take on both of these capital outlays, the operating budgets, and any capital requests. Within your budget book itself, you have summaries behind that cover letter from me. You have a list of what we know of for cash warrant articles year to date for general fund, sewer fund, water fund, electric fund, and Pop Whalen. And you have a breakdown of the department head appropriations, reductions that were made, and then we get into the operating budgets. One thing that I'd like to bring to your attention is toward the back of your book, you'll see that all the capital outlays are under their own tab. And additionally, behind that tab, there's the 5-year average tab. So you have that. Further, in some of the larger budgets, or all of the larger budgets, you have a cover sheet that breaks down.
Jim, I have a question. Is that 9% increase for the property and liability insurance?
That is
Yes.
correct.
On your analysis in the beginning, it said 0.1%, so it must be 2 different calculations, and I'm not understanding it correctly.
9% is year over year. He's saying out of the total operating
Total.
increase, it only represents 1%.
Okay.
Correct.
Or
That make that
A tenth of a percent.
0.1% of that 17.9% increase.
All right.
You will see as well, and we'll cover some of them tonight, when you get into some of the larger budgets, there's a cover page which outlines wages. The 100 through 800 series budgets for 5 years. Additionally, you'll see a brief narrative outlining what the percentage of the budget is, where some of those increases, decreases are, the number of employees, and the history of budget utilization. So with that said, that kind of covers the budget to this point. So the first one to dive into, Mr. Chairman, is the property liability insurance under page 1 of the general governments tab.
Thank you, Mr. Pino, for that. So we'll dive right in, page 1 there. Line item 480, property liability insurance. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I was wondering if Casey could look into seeing whether or not if we changed our deductible, if there would be a savings as long as it wouldn't affect us with a lot of out-of-pocket expenses.
I took it as an action item to contact Primex.
Okay. So do we want to list that as a revisit then to, depending on
Yes.
the answer for that? Okay, so that'd be a revisit.
So next would be the executive budget.
Page 3.
Page 3, yep.
So the cover of the executive budget shows that it has a 28.8% increase for $70,296 over last year's budget. Some of those large drivers are Wolfeboro Community TV is requesting an increase of $36,493, and milfoil treatment for $24,600. Those are some of the large increases. All yours, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Start off with the 100 series. 200 series.
All right, just, I had a conversation the explanation for the increase in the cable channel.
Oh,
That's-
what do we
that's
wait till we
not the
get there?
200
We're
series.
starting the executive, going down through lines here.
That's
Anything on the 200 series?
That is a 200 series.
That is the 200 series.
Yeah, cable channel.
Cable
200
channel.
It's
381.
actually 300.
Is it?
Yeah,
381.
Oh, it's just, yeah, just labeled wrong.
Yeah.
It's labeled wrong, yep.
Oh, no, you're looking,
If you go back into this,
200 totals for above.
Yeah, okay, all right.
300 series, cable channel,
Yeah.
Brian.
And so I had a discussion, and I guess there's been 3 or more years where our cable TV employees haven't had any raises, and we haven't brought on any full-time employees recently. So a part-time came to full-time. We've put them under our insurance plan and given them a raise to get them closer to where they should be.
I don't think that's under us at all. I don't
So
know.
I would just add clarification that they are not town employees. They do not fall under our insurance.
Right.
They have a board of directors. That board of directors oversees them, and that board of directors provides wages, wage adjustments, and insurance.
Okay.
Yep. Linda?
Brad, I'm on the same page as Brian with that $36,000, and we also have a decrease in revenue of about $5,300 over what we got the prior year. So we're looking at that as an increase of about $41,000, almost $42,000. And I don't think the town can afford it with the 17% increase. So I think we need to do some kind of a cut here. Definitely a revisit, but I think we need to look at cutting this back. I understand their need for more revenue, but I would like to see them do some more fundraising. And I think when I was on the board before, they did a bunch of selling of underwriting, and that really hasn't grown over the years. So I would like to see some more of that take place.
That is serving on the board now, that is one of the areas that we talk about monthly at our meetings there of ways to increase of the funding coming in, underwriting being one of the major ones or main ones that we have. So we're always talking about that, trying to find new avenues for fundraising on that. And the fact is when I talked to Brian earlier, our staff up there hasn't had any kind of an increase in 5 years up there. So we do want to get them to where they should be, salary-wise and stuff. So that was the consensus of bringing this budget forward. Now the original one, I think Jim can attest to, that we brought forward, we've done 2 cuts on it since it was brought forward. I believe we were up in the 50,000 range, even maybe higher with the original first one. Then we brought it back at 50, and then now we're down at the 36,493 for an increase here. So we've tightened our belts the best that we feel we could as the board of directors there, and we feel that that's kind of a bare bones budget to bring forward for the community TV channel. And like I said, we are always looking for other funding opportunities too to fund.
Brad.
Luke.
So when this actually came up during the cable franchise meeting too as well, we had, back when we were negotiating our contract, and Jim can correct me here, but the 5,000 that we're talking about in deficit, if we had renewed our contract, there was the potential for bringing in a little bit more revenue, but that would have been offset by an expense went directly to the end user. And so when the conversation came up during those meetings about, the cable franchise, the Wolfeboro Community TV, one of the things I said is why don't you try putting it in the budget and seeing if we can get it through that way? Because obviously there's a need. So, could we do this? Just to try to work through this. Is this something that we could step it over? We could do half of it this year and half next year, or?
You know what would help me is I'd like to know the percentage of the time they're doing work and related to the town. What is the percentage of the time that they're doing for the school system? What is the percentage of the time, for others? I'm a big supporter of Wolfeboro Community TV, but when I look at a 17.9%, increase, and I see this one, which is going up by the cut in revenue about 41,000, I think we have to do something here.
I assume they've looked for state and federal grants, and you always are looking for state and federal grants?
I'll ask Timothy, if he wants to come up here and answer any of these questions. This is Timothy, obviously our director there. If he can answer some more of the specific questions regarding that of the fundraising opportunities and any grants and stuff like that, so.
So we do look to see what is out there. We've been approaching local businesses for the majority and asking for local help. There are some that are helping us, a couple of churches and a couple of local businesses. Probably the biggest one is right now under construction, and we're not sure where it's gonna go. But to be honest, the bigger issue I think for us is the franchise fees that you're receiving, as you've noted, is going down, and we're not providing only cable TV for the town. We provide the YouTube channel now as well, and it seems that the majority of your viewers or our viewers are on that online option, and people are getting the service and are not paying anything for it. Where the people who have cable TV are paying for it, they also can get it online, which is great. So my approach was the request that there may be funds from the town that could be outside of the franchise fund so that we can continue, because we know that cable is going down. People are changing their ways that they're getting their information and their television. And the same is going for us. We've made that option available to keep things alive on YouTube, but there's no revenue that comes from YouTube. And as of right now, we can't advertise. We're non-commercial, so we have to be donors and underwriters and folks that can give, and that includes on YouTube because of our standing as a nonprofit organization that is non-commercial. I don't know if that 100% answers your questions. Anytime that we have somebody submit to us information about a grant, we've gone after it. We've not been successful to this point, but if there's anything that you know of or that you can find, we certainly will pursue grant monies, but there's a lot of other cable stations in the state.
One other thing we've been looking at also is our surrounding towns within the school district. Years ago, we did have an agreement with New Durham, who was pulled out probably 4 or 5 years ago. They kind of pulled back and do their own thing there. We've been trying to work with our other towns which have Spectrum or what are they called?
Charter Spectrum, yes.
Charter Spectrum. But we've been having a very difficult time getting them to respond to us to set up a link between the Breeze line and the Spectrum line to be able to broadcast into that town. And that would give us another revenue source if we could get into, Ossipee, Effingham, Brookfield, Tuftonboro.
Also in negotiations with Wolfeboro right now, which is not necessarily one of the school district towns. They do send to the technology center, but they're interested in how we're doing things and working with us. So there's potential of connecting with Wolfeboro. I am chasing these things, but
Yep.
right now there's not, we don't have contracts or revenues coming from those.
I don't know if that kind of answers your question. We're not just sitting back waiting to get, money from the town to operate here. We are actively looking and hunting for other revenue sources continually.
Right. And I can say this also to answer your question without specific or real numbers. The majority of the work is right here in this hall that we're providing for the town, for the town meetings, Board of Selectmen, Budget Committee, Planning Board, Zoning Board, that's the grand majority, 90-something% of our work. Things that the school have cut way back, where we appreciate the space in the school, but because of the way the programming at school is being done, they're not providing content for us to put out from the school. We're be excited to have that, but they're not giving us content to put out or the opportunity. The school board meetings are pretty much the only thing that we're at right now. Some of the concerts, when we can get some volunteers, we'll cover sports events, but we're not providing, as much for the school as we are for the town by any means.
Any other questions, comments?
I would like to put it on the revisit. I don't know how this whole budget's going to flush out. And one of the things I know is if we keep it even if we get it down to 15%, the chances of it passing go down greatly. So I'm comfortable putting it on the revisit and put it in with all the other ones that we at some point may have to make a hard decision about. I do support community TV, but I'm just looking at the number we may have to cut out of this budget, and every one that we go to is going to be hard. I'm going to cut some of my favorites.
I've added it to the
Hopefully-
revisit list.
Okay.
Hopefully, we can continue to provide service for you.
Yep.
Thank you, Timothy. Okay, anything else on the 300 series? 500 series?
Just the printing and dues and subscriptions. It looks like the 2023 budget was 6,400, and there's 3,261 so far expent, but then back in 2022 there was 14,000, and I just didn't. I assume that's the printing for the annual report. So do we pay for that all in the spring, or is that 3,261 going to be? And then it went up to 7,400 as opposed to 64. So I was just curious.
Which line number, Luke?
We're at 550. We're at 550, and then I'm going to ask a question about 560 as well, but 550 is at 7,400, a 15.63% increase.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. That's for the larger sized reports that we're getting. Additionally, the voter's guide.
Yeah, I put down maybe a cut of $3,000.
Casey, did you have that 3261.66? Is there a new number as of
What was the question? I'm sorry.
that 3261.66? Is that printing? Is that only for those?
It was the annual report of last spring, but we cut down on the volume a lot, and we're like running out. So Amy suggested that we continue to up the quantity of the town report.
So will we have more, we'll be using up basically the other 3,200 by the end of the year, would you guess?
That is the plan.
Yep.
I mean, it's a nice to have, not a necessity, so
Yep.
it depends if something else creeps up.
So do we go to a reprint if we run out of the, we do?
I don't think we've ever run out before, but we cut down the volume this time,
This
so,
last year
yeah.
significantly. One of the things we could do is to put it back to last year's number.
I'm going to make a motion to put it to 6,400, which was last year's number.
I'll
Second.
second.
Motion a second to bring that back to last year's number of 6,400. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so that'll be,
And then just the next one, the 560, this is more just a technical question. It looks like in 2022, that 560 dues and subscriptions dropped to $130. Is that just because, is there the subscriptions a every 2-year thing, or was that just a freak year with, or is it recoded different? Was it a coding, has it been decoded differently now or something?
I would suspect it's up in printing. That's where that 14,000 is, because there's no expense. Because that's our NHMA dues,
Okay.
New Hampshire Municipal Association, so I don't believe there's ever been a year you missed that.
Anything else in the 500 series?
I just have on advertising, and we have not spent, I think we're at 8,000 now, almost 9. Last year, we spent 6.
Year before, 12.
So why didn't we stick that on a revisit if we're hunting at the end, that we might be able to cut?
The advertising?
We'll
Is
just-
the advertising is where I assume where we post all the advertising, we're posting our meetings,
Public
for
hearings.
going out for jobs, for people looking for, so it's all that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And sometimes it's for department heads, not all staff, but
Okay.
Anything else in 500 series? 600 series?
Do we have room to cut a couple $100 from postage?
I think they upped the postage,
they
didn't they?
they seem to do it every 6 months right now.
Yeah, I think they just stuck
All
it
right.
up.
How about office supplies? We got room to cut 500 from office supplies, too.
You certainly can. I mean, year-to-date, we've expended 1,200, but
Now, so why are we so high with office supplies this year compared to the prior two? Just escalation of costs?
right off the top of my head, Brian, I am not sure.
Just a ream of paper's gone up by like $1.80 a packet.
All right.
I mean, paper's more expensive. Everything's,
Let it
produced
ride.
paper is more expensive. But you can, if you want to cut 200, looks like you could cut
200.
$200. $200 is $200. I'll
That's
take
right,
it.
that's what we're after.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to cut $200 from the office supplies.
I'll second.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Linda. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So it'll come down to 1,300. For line item 620. Anything else under 600 series? 800 series.
Yeah, I'd like to deal with the milfoil budget. The reason that is so high is that we need to do a chemical treatment. And I would like to talk about cutting 10,000 out of it and then use the capital reserve account that we have when we closed out the joint board. And then I would like to take another 3,500. If we're going to do a chemical treatment, I think we can survive without hand pulling, and I believe that brings it down to 34,500.
You read my mind, Linda.
Huh?
You read my mind. I have those two exact numbers, 10,000 and 3,500.
Second.
Yeah, I found money for one of it.
So you're looking to cut 13,500 altogether out of the
Yes, it is.
Second.
motion by Linda, seconded by Luke to cut 13,500 out of the milfoil treatment, line item 870. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I was wondering
Okay.
about 810 and 820, travel and meetings and professional development. Now, professional development is up this year, so maybe we need to keep that 500, but we've used $0 for travel and meetings. Are we going to be using that $500 this year?
Yes, the NHMA is in November, and the executive secretary attends that. It's a
Okay.
two-day thing in
So that
Manchester.
500 will be spent?
A portion of it, yes.
Okay, because in 2021 and 2022, we were $170. 100 one year, 70 the next year.
And
They-
there was little
During COVID.
off-site training during COVID.
Virtual.
All right, let it ride.
I would like to go to 872. It pains me, but I would like to cut Wolfeboro Waters back to the 21,500 of last year. So cut it by 3,000.
Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Luke, to cut 3,000 out of Wolfeboro Waters, line item 872. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Anything else under 800 series? Okay.
So our next budget is the town manager's
Page 10.
budget. That budget right now contains a 13.5% increase for $28,545.
I missed one, I'm sorry. For the Energy Committee.
Okay.
He's in the other budget, last line, I believe. 873.
Yeah, 873. I want to cut $50 from it,
Okay.
because I found out that we're only going to make about $850 in profit from the EV chargers this year, and we're being given $900. And I'd like to change the verbiage on that electric transfer station maintenance, because it looks like we're paying $900 or receiving $900 in monies for maintenance on the system, and we're not receiving any monies for the maintenance of the system. The money that we're getting, that $900, which will now be $850, is actually proceeds that we're making as a profit from selling electricity at a 42% increase to the users of the station. So I don't know how we can, maybe we can say that it's a profit transfer or something for miscellaneous, I don't know, we need to, but it
That's
needs.
not what you do. Whatever you spend has got to be in your budget. You can't offset it with revenue. Revenue's in a completely different
No,
bucket.
but this doesn't look right. We
But,
need-
but
this
but
needs-
somebody asked me to put this in, I thought it was you. It's for maintenance of anything that goes wrong with the actual station.
But we can, if there, where is their money going now?
It went into this year's general fund
It always
revenue.
Oh, it goes into the general fund anyhow?
It goes into the
Okay,
general fund,
okay.
and then they're giving us back the profit above and beyond what our expenses are.
We're not,
Right.
though.
No, she's right.
We're not breaking up the electric bill. We're not breaking up the profit. This is just truly expenses for
Yeah.
running this operation.
The revenue's already there.
But there are no expenses for running the station.
Then why'd you put it in? What is that figure of electric charging state maintenance, that $900? Why did you put it in?
Because what happens is this, okay, you got to follow this. We paid for 5 years up front for all the service fees, software fees, cellular fees, and everything.
You paid it up front. It's
All-
gone. Okay.
All gone, from donations.
Okay, it's gone.
It's gone.
Okay.
Now, when someone plugs into the charger, they get charged 20 cents a kilowatt. The cost to operate it is 14 cents a kilowatt. The balance goes into the general fund.
Correct.
And then what they've done is they've transferred it to us with this line to get it back to us, listing it as maintenance, charging station maintenance, but it's not charging station maintenance.
What
We're
are
not
you,
using it.
what are you getting back? Are you going to spend $850 for what?
This year it was spent on miscellaneous items.
Then this line should say miscellaneous.
That's what I just said. It
Okay,
should
then
say-
that's what you need to do.
Yeah, I said, but I think it should be listed as, the line should say profit transfer miscellaneous item expenses energy committee.
You can't put profits in an appropriation.
Well, then you have to word it
And
somehow.
I'll tell you what, Public Works is paying for the electricity, not this department. Because the railroad station and the EV charging station are one electrical thing, so we're not breaking out the bill.
I thought we have a dedicated meter for that, I thought.
That's not what I was told.
Yes, it's not part of the railroad station building. Where it got convoluted is we were supposed to get a dedicated meter, and then I think what they ended up doing is they put our meter in conjunction with the new lighting that they're putting in down
I stand
there.
corrected. What I do know is it's not
Yeah.
being split out. That's what I'm trying to say to you.
All I want is I want it so that people don't think that we are spending $900 of taxpayer funds to maintain that system, and that's what it looks like when you look at this in the
But
budget.
Okay.
where it needs to be labeled is in the revenue, that X amount revenue is coming from the electric, because that's where revenue goes. And we can label that when we list revenue.
Miscellaneous.
So you don't believe any maintenance expenses need to be in this department?
Not for the first 5 years, we're not going to be spending any maintenance
Okay, so that whole thing
expenses on
gets
it.
scratched out.
So you want to bring this down $900?
Yep.
No, $50.
50.
$50.
Are you going to spend $850 on maintenance to the physical charger in 2024?
No.
Okay, then it doesn't belong in
comes out,
there.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
out.
So the money
be there.
needs to come back to the Energy Committee.
The money goes into the general fund and it offsets taxes.
That's how it,
That's how it goes. That's how we are told and have to do it by state statute.
It's just like the Libby Museum ramp, okay? All those barge fees that come in, that goes into the general fund.
Correct.
Did we do that, or
We
we
set
did a
that up as a-
robbery?
But
Yeah,
we have to specifically repair the barges or whatever, I mean,
yeah, that's a
the
little
ramps.
different.
Okay, I cited the wrong one then.
But it's everything. Police,
A good example, but
Yeah,
a
bad
little bit
example.
off.
police brings in fees, fire brings
Right.
in fees,
Yeah.
it's not
Park
in
and
their
Rec
budgets.
does.
Police, yeah, your speeding tickets you get in that electric car, those don't come to the, they go to the general fund.
Same with Park and Rec. Any of those programs go in there.
Okay.
You get
Well,
the-
I want the understanding that people know that we're not spending any money on those charging stations. They are bringing in a.
I think they're
profit.
clear if they've watched
Yeah,
this.
they're bringing in a profit to the
yeah,
town.
there's just being offset by revenue, which is fine. A lot of these are, but they still have to show up as an expense first, so.
Are you still making that motion to cut it by 50?
Nope.
Okay.
But you'd like
I'll
me to
make a
change?
motion to cut that line item by $900.
Second.
Motion a second to cut that by $900. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Hey,
And I'll make
4 to 1.
another motion that we make it clear on our revenue sheet that $900 comes in from the chargers, because that's where that needs to be acknowledged. And I think it should be on a sheet, which is what you're asking for, and I'm more than willing to do that.
I believe it already is, but I can confirm that next month, week.
Okay?
Okay, so back to town manager's budget for 2024, contains a 13.5% increase. That's wages, benefits, and we have in here consultant to perform a wage and benefit study in 2024. The last time a wage and benefit study was done was in 2016. This represents 2 full-time employees, and it's all yours, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
Am I correct that the wage study was also part of the union agreement, that we were going to do that?
Not sure if it's specifically spelled out in the collective bargaining agreement, but it was discussed in the collective bargaining negotiations.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll start off with the 100 series. 200 series.
Back on 100, we're on town clerk, correct?
No, town manager, page 10.
Oh, page 10.
Okay, anything on 100 series? 200 series. 300 series. .400 series. 500 series. 600 series. 800 series.
Just travel and meetings. And I'm just looking at $900, $900, $185. Now, there's going to be travel and meetings the rest of the year. Is that going to make up to $900 again?
I would say it would not.
So,
I was at the same place. Is there anything particular between your professional development and meetings and travel that you have on your mind that you'd like to go to?
I would love to, but the time just does not work out. A lot of those items take place right now, so it's kind of a challenge. There is a lot of professional development which is online, which is available, so if we needed to make a cut here, I could certainly live with it.
I mean, I would move the travel and meetings, I'd take it down to 1,000.
I had 900.
Well, will we flip a coin? I don't care which of the two. Only reason I went down to 1,000 is since 2021 and 22, I think things have cost more.
Okay.
I'll second that.
1,000?
Yep.
Okay.
So we have a motion to lower it to 1,000, you lower it by $500?
That's correct.
Okay, yep, make sure I have that right. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And so then I was looking at professional development, and I was wondering whether we wanted to cut that to 750 if you've got things online you can do.
I think that's reasonable.
Okay, I'll make a motion to cut professional development down to 750.
Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Brian. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
So the next one is the town clerk's budget. Town clerk's budget contains a 9.7% increase, $21,620 over 2023. Note, there's 5 elections scheduled for 2024, and the bulk of her increases are wage-related. Casey will be speaking on behalf of this tonight for Pat.
But I'm pretty sure you hit it all. Pat couldn't be here tonight because she's traveling to her town clerk seminar for the next couple of days. She did want to point out, as Jim just said, about the 5 elections. Most of this will be for the supervisors of the checklist and her ballot clerks for the 5 different elections. The presidential primaries in February, presidential primary, February deliberative, March election, September primary, and November general election.
Thank you, Casey. I'm glad I heard why she wasn't here. I thought it might be because I parked in her parking spot. She saw that there and left. So. Okay, 100 series.
So the $14,400 in extra overtime is due to the elections.
Yeah, if you look at the bottom of page 17, she's got 3 different supervisors of the checklist and 3 different ballot clerks, and she estimated all the hours that they would be attending those 5 different events and preparation for those 5 events.
So I have a 380 is one I have a question on, and I was looking at the 5-year average, and it seems to be very little in one year, then a large amount in the next, then very little. And so I'm questioning or would like to know, so this will be a revisit, what other expenses do we have in 2023? I think it's sometimes printing our codes, et cetera, so
Right.
I just would like more information.
I probably could speak to that now if you'd like. I
Okay.
would be happy to put it on the revisit, but she did have the supervisors of the checklist and those part-time people in the outside services, but yet we were paying them through payroll. So we moved them up to the 100s.
So they're up to the 100 series, so that line should have less of expense than it did this last year. That's why I'd like to revisit it. I'd like to see what is going to be paid out of that line, because we've only got 1,195, so that one we may be able to cut.
So you're saying as compared to actual?
Yes, I'm looking at the actual, and then I'm looking at a pattern of large one year, small the next, large. So I'm just, it may have to do with elections if that's what it is, but I'd like to revisit that.
It could just be some of the timing. The big one is the town ordinance update of $5,000. I know we have not done that this year yet.
Yes,
but
and that's, if she's going to do that, then that will take care of it. I just
Right.
don't know
Yep.
where we are with that.
There'll be-
I added it to the revisit list.
Thank you. Anything else on the 300 series? 400.
Office equipment, looks like maybe $500 or $600 would be a more in line amount.
Make a motion.
So make a motion to decrease office equipment to $500.
Second.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Luke, to lower item 434 to $500. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 500 series.
How come there's no expense for printing this year?
That's what, that, on print, oh, no, I'm in advertising, sorry.
There is, it looks like they've, oh, I'm
550.
under advertising. Sorry.
Okay, there's nothing this,
For printing, it's 1386, 240, 1,000, and 0.
should we revisit that, Brian, and get her to give us
Yeah.
clarity? I hate to cut it without her here to
Yeah,
defend it.
Yep.
because she requested 1,000 again this year. There was 1,000 last year. We
Yeah,
haven't spent any of it.
I am with you, I just think we should
Revisit it.
revisit
Revisit.
just to give her a chance.
Added to the revisit
Yep.
list.
Anything else under 500 series? 600 series. $700. $800 series.
So our next budget is assessing.
Page 18.
2024 assessing budget contains a 3.63% or $5,600 increase. Bulk of this is contracted services. Note that the budget does contain, the overall budget contains a reevaluation. Todd is recommending that we continue to do our cyclical updates alongside of the reevaluation. He'll be able to speak to that. Short of that, it's up over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. 100 series.
Overtime. Doesn't seem like we've used a lot of overtime. Are we going to be using the overtime this year?
This year?
We did think that there was going to be a little bit for reval when
Maybe.
she has to do her mailings and that type
Yeah,
of stuff.
I don't know if that's this year, but next year, if you
Well,
you
that's-
choose. Oh, yeah, sorry. So this year's, we're talking about next year. Yeah, gotcha. Sorry.
Sorry.
I would think that there may be a need for that with the scheduling of appointments and whatnot,
Okay.
if you go that route with the reassessment. And the same with the postage too, but we can get that.
Okay.
Anything else under 100 series? 200 series? 300 series?
Yeah, 380. Do we have a contract? And that, so this amount is a pre-approved contracted amount?
I can get you that if you like.
That should be in here, so that,
Yep, we can attach that.
For backup? Yeah.
yeah, for backup, because okay. 384, can you explain, as I recall, we used to not do the cyclical data collection the year we did the reeval, and so you're asking us to do something different. Can you tell me?
That's true, but you normally are on a 5-year cycle, so we usually try to do the 25% every year for the first 4 years, and then in the year, the reassessment,
Right.
not do any.
Yep.
This year, you're pushing up the reassessment a year early, potentially.
But aren't you still going to do that evaluation when you do your, upgrade, or whatever you call it, your reeval?
So the cyclicals are just database maintenance. So the goal is to try to get to every property every 5 years. And then, we do, like I said, we do that in the first 4 years and then revalue in the fifth. But since we're bumping up the reassessment a year, my thought was we still want to get through the whole town when we do the reassessment. That's why I asked to keep it in there.
But you're going to look at that fourth in your reeval, right? What do you do in the cyclical update that would not take place in the reeval?
Measure the measure the primary buildings, go through the inside if we could. So there's no data collection in the reassessment except for the sales. So the data collection's happening with the cyclical. So we would value it based on the data that we have on file. It just may not be if you skip that fourth year, there's 25% of the town that may not have the most up-to-date data that you'd be using the new values that you applied to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just trying to decide in a year when we've got
Right.
the amounts that we have, whether it makes sense that this is a year we could skip it, or whether we should go on, or whether we should take a look at it as a revisit. I mean, it's just the measurements and stuff, and if we've blown it, we know we'll get it in the abatement. People will be more than willing to come in and get us.
I mean, there's nothing that requires you to do it. It's good practice. So you could put it off a year. You just have that 25% that would be looked at after the reassessment.
Would you go right back to them?
They go
or-
first.
I would finish, I would do them the year after the reassessment and then start over. But, so you wouldn't, you'd kind of be off a little bit because you wouldn't necessarily get to every property in 5 years, but, I mean,
So if somebody had an addition, if something.
You get that in the pickups, right?
yeah.
You get
Yeah, so if there's permitted activity.
Those will be picked
we'll
up.
get it. If there's not permitted activity.
Activity, you
we
won't
may
get it.
not, right. That's more or less what we find is the non-permitted activity.
And do we see a lot of that, Todd?
The,
Non-permitted activity?
there's no pattern, it happens, we pick it up stuff up every year. The deck turns into a porch, and the porch turns into a screen porch, and that type of thing, it just evolves.
Yeah.
You know, if it wasn't a year that we were in such a bind, I'd let it go, but that's 40,000 that we can pick up by pushing that off a year. Do the reeval, which I think we have to do,
Right.
and then just
Yep.
shove this down the line. Not ideal, but it may make sense in this kind of a year.
I think it's more important to do the reval than it is to do the last 25%.
Right.
If you were to choose.
Yep.
Because you're changing 100% of the values, if that's what you decide to do,
Yeah.
regardless of whether you visited 100% of the property.
Correct,
Right.
on that last one.
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we remove the cyclical data collection at $40,880.
Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by, was it Luca Bryan? I didn't catch Brian. To remove line item 384, cyclical data collection. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. That'll be our first 25% we do the following year.
Yeah.
That was a good get.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything else under 300 series? 400 series? 500 series?
Dues and subscriptions. What do you guys use for dues and subscriptions?
Most of that is Marshall Valuation Service, the cost manual.
Okay.
It's, I think it's like $650 a year, might be more, I haven't seen it recently, but it's up there.
Okay.
Then there's dues, there's the annual NHAO membership, but I'm not sure what else.
Okay.
600 series? $800 series? Okay.
So your next budget is the tax collector's budget. The tax collector's budget is up 3.9%, or $13,139, with the bulk of that being for wages. Contains 4 full-time employees. You may see at this point the hourly wages are down a little bit right now, but that's because they've been without an employee for several months. Brenda's here. Mr. Chairman, it's all yours.
Thank you. 100 series?
Overtime. Do you anticipate using up the rest of your overtime budget for this year?
We will have more overtime by the end of the year because we are implementing new software, and we're in we're kind of in the beginning phase of that.
Okay.
We're hoping that everything will be done, I would say maybe February or March.
Okay.
So at least for the current budget, we will use more of that.
Okay. And do you need to keep it at the same 2,000 for 2024? Or, I mean, I know January and February is still going to be implementing that. Do you anticipate?
Right. You know, in the spirit of the evening, I would say that would be one place you could cut.
What would be fair? What would be fair?
Nice way to put it, Brenda.
What would be your recommendation?
Let me see.
Can you do it with 1,500?
Yes.
Motion for 1,500, line item 140, overtime.
Second.
Motion by Luke, seconded by Brian. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 200 series. A little bit of that also be adjusted with the new overtime rate there. That 300 series. $400 series. $500 series. $600 series.
600, 682 uniforms you've never spent in. Is there something new coming out for uniforms?
No, that was part of the union agreement, I believe, and I think I have to push my employees to get what they are supposed to be spending this year.
Okay.
May I add a comment that's you're gonna see it through a few different budgets. If you notice, prior she was spending it under safety equipment. A few department heads wanted to, if they were just buying shirts and stuff, they didn't want to call it safety equipment, so we created a 682, and some department heads chose to break out, you know, just shirts out of safety equipment, because shirts aren't really safety equipment.
Okay.
Right.
700 series. 800 series. Okay. As easy as that.
I just have one question on the open position in billings and collection. Did you do the health insurance at 2 persons?
I believe we did. That's,
No, we did it at family, which is usually what we do.
Family, you're
Yeah.
doing it at family now? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Worst case scenario.
okay,
Thank you, Brenda.
thank you.
So the next item is property revaluation. Again, the RFP is currently out, and this is a $200,000 item.
Previously, you had done this as a warrant article. Jim was asked by the Budget Committee to put it into the operating budget, so I created a department that has previously been used.
And if you remember, there was a lot of conversation the last time we did this about trying to create an expendable trust. We just never got to it, and it came up on us so quickly 2 years earlier than anticipated, based on, I think we're at 60% of our valuation.
Okay, any other discussions on that one?
Next item is the legal budget. You can see here the breakdown of the legal budget based on general government, zoning, planning, code enforcement, negotiations, bond council, and the coalition of communities we accounted for in this line. That's the coalition of communities regarding the school funding legislation, which is being discussed or has been discussed for the past 3 years, and we as a community did enroll in that coalition of communities.
one of the things that we used to have in legal was the police department had some legal, and there's nothing in here for the police department. And they do use legal. I don't believe they have it in their budget.
We're just rolling it up under 320, general, like the Libby's in there, the trustees are in there, the police is in there. So the police is rolling up under the line item, general government.
I think before they had in their budget a line item for, and I think we've had some significant costs. So I'm just wondering whether there isn't, I hate to raise something.
So they did have a legal line, at least looking back to 2021, there was no expense in that line, 21, 22, or 23.
But
So-
what happens if they do go, what happened in those years, if a department that had a commission or something that wasn't under us and spent a bunch of money, they had to find that money elsewhere in their budget. This way, we end up having to come up with that amount of money, and that's just why I was bringing it up. And I wonder whether it makes sense, since they are under another commission, that we should put some money in there for them.
But it can go the other way too, where you get the favorability if it's not spent, right? So,
I think it's a good conversation. I can reach out to the commission, see if they'd like to have some in there. I think it really makes sense for them to have some funds for negotiations, but we have programmed funds for negotiations for next year. But I think I guess it's a board decision. If you'd like to see something broken out, we can have a conversation with the commission and see what they'd like to do.
I was thinking, somewhere's around $1,000. I just think that it's one of the places where we could spend a lot of legal. And, if I ask for a printout on the legal, I get a big, huge printout, and I can see those amounts. And so this is, I would like to, I'll make a motion, I would like to add a line item for police and put it in at $1,000.
Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Luke, to add another line item for legal services for the police department. Any other discussions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
for administrative, did you mean just add it here?
Here and add it
Okay,
there.
not adding it in police. You just want a subcategory police here.
Yes. and
Got
I
it,
li-
got it.
Yeah.
Just, I was not clear what you were saying. Thank you.
So we keep track of it.
Yep.
Okay. So the next budget is health insurance, life disability, dental, unemployment compensation, workers' compensation, all in for all of those accounts under the general fund is $2,657,847.
Can I just ask a question? Life and disability insurance, I know health insurance, but is that one just, what's the deal with that? Why is that one jumping so much? 27.38%. That seems, I understand health insurance. I'm kind of curious if the disability insurance has to do with, like, workplace injuries, if that drives it, or just the mod that we're in for that insurance policy, or I don't know. That seems like a lot of an increase.
We did get a new carrier, and so it did go up.
Okay.
And also, it goes up every time our salaries go up,
Okay,
because it's based on salary.
okay.
Any other questions on the insurances?
Okay, so the next one is miscellaneous operating expense, 5,600. And this is exactly what it's called for. We have been using this somewhat. Joint Loss Management Committee has been very busy reviewing, updating policies, looking at safety procedures. So there's been some funds expended there. short of that. This is where you, if we want to send flowers to a family or something, this is where this is usually made up.
My other place, I'm not quite sure where we're going to end up with the ZBA and legal. We've had a lot of legal, and last time I pulled it, I don't have them. They've had a couple. I don't know whether all of September was in there. Was it? I didn't bring it with me. But I think we're about 7,000 or more at this point in time.
Just through July, because they're lagging in their billing.
Yeah, so I was looking if we had to someplace supplement, and shift money. This was just one I was thinking of. I don't have any problem cutting some of it, but I think we will use a bunch of it this year.
We also may have to buy some equipment for the elections if they change the machines.
Yep.
I can't speak to that any better than that, but.
Yeah, so the state has adopted 2 machines that the towns can purchase. Pat has attended seminars on both of them. She's picked the preferred one, and if I remember correctly, they were about $2,800 a piece, something like that, and she needs 2 of them. So that's an item that we're trying to forecast an end-of-year purchase.
So want to leave this one alone, or you want to?
Well, let's revisit it. I'm not, I think we should revisit it when we're at the end, see where we are. We're hunting for something that's a place,
Okay.
whether we like it or not.
So the next item is the Health Department budget. Currently contains no adjustments over 2023.
How come the salaries never match what the actuals are?
I'm sorry, where are you?
For the salaries, for health officer salaries, supervisor salaries, 7,300 for actuals for 21, 78 for 22, budgeted 10,000 for salaries for 23, and then the salary is only 7,000 again.
Year to date.
Is
Yeah, we
that going to
haven't-
is that going to get to the 10,099?
Yep. We haven't paid out, we pay out quarterly and monthly. 2 different ones, but yes, we're still paying that out.
Anything else on the 100 series, 200 series? 300? 500? 600? And 800, we're all zeros anyway. Okay.
So our next item, this is one of our big drivers, debt service.
Okay, what can we cut?
Cut
So-
spending.
Unfortunately, this is one of those items that we're kind of locked into. I will note that part of the public safety building bond is included on this, but remember, we only bonded a portion of it. So there's $6,140,000 that could be bonded to this next year. Hopefully, we're able to get some grant funding to offset that and reduce that second bond tranche. But that's what we're looking at. So we have $1,363,291 in principal payment, $747,706 in interest, for a grand total of $2,110,997. The next item is sewer fund transfer. The sewer fund transfer does include the Varney, Sewell Forest Road sewer extensions. So that bond, or that capital expense for the sewer transfer is $608,400. $477.
Can we have a breakout of exactly how you calculated that in terms of capital outlay, how you came to that figure? I think it's easier to explain, because that transfer is some of the bond payments. It also is some of the capital outlay.
Yes, I can do that for you. I believe I traced history, though, and it's always only been what's in the debt service.
No?
I will follow up with you.
Okay, all right, then I'll go, then you and I may have to have a conversation with John Burt, because it was always supposed to be the capital outlay in the back part of the book along with debt service. So we can have a conversation. Okay.
That number, though, does reflect, as Casey alluded to, the debt only. It does not, that number does not reflect any capital outlay. So
Okay.
we can have a conversation about that.
Yep.
Okay, so the next item is ZBA. ZBA contains a 24.9% increase, or $2,000 over 2023, with the bulk of that being for advertising. Tavis is here to answer any questions that you may have regarding the budget.
Thank you. 100 series, we're on page 1. $200 series. 300 series.
Are we going to use up all our advertising?
We're in the 300.
Oh, sorry, 400, 500.
500 series.
Are we going to use up all our advertising?
So the answer on the 500 series is an odd question mark. What the ZBA has decided of for and by itself at a work session meeting is that they would like to not only advertise the public hearing notice, but also like to advertise the notice of decision.
Does any of that get carried by the applicant?
It could be, but as I understand in working with Casey, coordinating with finance, in order to expend that line has to match. So I don't think it's ever going to achieve $5,000. The only way we came up with that is to look at basically a 5-6-year average on noticing and then double it.
Okay.
However, we could, to answer your question, raise the application fee so that the applicant is required to pay it. Where that gets a little dicey is there's nothing in the statute to put a notice of decision in the paper. Other towns do it, and we can if that's the direction of the town, but we can make that up.
Okay, so I was just getting clarity from you. There are two notices we put in. One is of the hearing, the notice of hearing. Is that paid for by the applicant?
Currently, the fee structure is that someone, I mean, yes, in a perfect world, but no, in reality. Right now, they pay $100 or $150 for the notice.
But, so in other words, we don't have our fee high enough. But if we did, that would be paid for by the applicant.
Correct.
Where the notice of decision in nothing
Correct.
charges anything. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yes, you're
We may have
100% correct, yes.
Okay, so half of this is, we can, if we do the price right, paid for by the applicant.
Correct. Right now, the Granite State News, just for the general record, for the average meeting notice for one hearing is a little over $260. And we're only bringing in 150 of that. A notice of decision is going to be substantively longer than the notice, so that's where this 5,000 came from. But we can raise the fee to reach that, yes.
That's-
Anything else on the 500? 600 series?
I would like to reduce 620 to $150.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Luke, seconded by Linda, to lower line item 620 to $150. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I would like to reduce 625, but I don't know how many applications are going to come in, so I did not reduce that one.
We got 145, 45 this year so far.
Right. If everything were to work out the same next year, I would be happy to put that down at $200. But again, the problem becomes, and the applicants are paying this postage, I just need a line to charge it to when it actually comes through.
Now we have to raise it to be able to
Correct.
spend it anyway,
Right,
so.
that's an in-out. That's not going to, we cut that, that's not going to affect our tax rate by the time we
Right.
put the revenue in. It's
So
offset.
if we could get it within $400, it might, but
Yeah. Anything else on the 600 series? 800 series.
I would like to remove 810 entirely, put that at 0. Primarily because I recently advertised a training opportunity for both planning board and zoning board. Only 2 people picked me up on it. And if you go back all the way to 21, only $50 was spent. So there are online opportunities. So what I'm looking at is 820, still covering the course, not covering the mileage to get to it. That's where I'm going with this, because many of them can be done online. It's hard to balance that against the 20% increase in legal fees that you just looked at a couple of slides ago, but I think the mileage can be on the participant, given past practice.
We'll leave $50 in there
That's
just in
where I
case.
was going with
We'll leave $50 in there just in
Okay.
case there is.
Yes,
yeah.
$50.
So we'll reduce line item 810, travel and meetings, from $240 to $50.
I'll second that.
I thought we just did line 810 down to 0.
No, we're gonna leave 50 in there.
Okay.
Luke changed it.
Yeah, just in case. It's easier to keep a little bit.
Motion and a second to reduce line item 810 down to $50.
Correct.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Anything else under 800 series? Okay.
The next item is planning board budget. Planning board budget contains a 35.6% or $7,477 reduction compared to 2023, with the bulk of that being $7,500 removal for the impact fee ordinance review.
100 series.
I would like to remove 133 entirely.
Pardon?
I would like to reduce 133 to 0.
The phone stipend.
What was that for in the past? Was it
The
just
cell phone stipend. There is no longer a cell phone stipend for that person.
Okay.
Oh,
There isn't?
well, there's 30, we've spent 135 this year.
That's because it's in there and someone is programmed to receive it, but I spoke with that employee earlier and they're okay with not receiving it. It's actually, the person receiving that money doesn't even work for the planning board anymore.
I'll make a motion, I'll back that, I'll make a motion to cut line 133 to 0.
Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Brian. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. 200 series. 300 series.
I would like, oh wait, we're in 300. Keep going.
If you could get more out of that one.
500 series.
Well, on 300 outside services, how come we've only spent $113.30 for year-to-date for outside services?
The original request for this year for 380 was for $7,500 to revisit impact fees. That entire amount of $7,500 has been, there's recently a purchase order that went into finance to spend $7,500 on master plan, natural resource inventory, map updates. But, and I don't mean to throw stones while I'm in this room, but because the selectmen haven't provided clear direction on impact fees, I'm okay with not putting $7,500 in for revisiting that next year.
$500 series.
I would like $550 to go down to $300.
Move line 550 to $300.
Second.
Motion by Luke, seconded by Brian to reduce line item 550 down to 300. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I would like to think that line 562 could go down to $3,000, but because the past couple of years have been very close, I don't think it's safe to do that.
3,500?
Going once.
How many people are going to apply next year? That's what this boils down to.
And none of that is,
That's the same thing. They pay
that's paid
150.
for, but we
yeah.
still get appropriated. It's an in-out,
Right.
okay?
600 series.
I would like to reduce 620 to $500.
So moved.
Second,
Motion by Luke, seconded by Linda, to reduce line item 620 to 500.
Since that was so expensive, I'll explain what's going on. I now have the planning board member challenge on who returns their envelope the fastest, and they keep track of how many times they get the same envelope.
Okay.
Really, believe it or not, the majority of this line deals with manila envelopes for packets.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Anything else in the 600 series? 800
I have a
series.
question.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm going to go to 625 postage. It doesn't look like we have spent any 2021, 2022, or 2023. So,
I would like to challenge how things were recorded against the system.
well, I've got what's in front of me, and
No,
we're doing that line. So if we haven't spent any money, either we pull it out, or we can revisit it if something needs to be more accurately accounted
I think it might
for.
need to be revisited, because my guess is somebody's putting the wrong code in when postage is getting run.
Year-to-date, under the planning department, postage is $730 on a $600 budget, so that could be part of it.
Right, but I'm showing postage is 400 and none spent in here.
Zero, it says zero
Here.
here.
Yeah. So revisit?
Yep,
Okay.
get it straightened out.
Oopsie there.
800 series.
Similar to the previous discussion, I would like to reduce 810 to 0. Or in Luke's mind, 50.
$50 for 810.
I'll second that one.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Okay.
Okay.
So the next budget is planning department, 3.4% increase, with the bulk of that all being wages. It's all yours, Mr. Chairman.
$100 series. $200 series. $300 series.
Three,
I'm going to offer $1,000 on 311.
hey, I was going to get to that.
Thank you. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Luke. Any other discussion?
I have to make up for the savings that Luke put back in.
To reduce line item 311 down to $1,000. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Anything else under 300 series? 400. 0. 500 series.
I'd like to move 550 down to 250.
That's the one. Okay, yeah, 250 is so moved.
Second,
Can you say it again, please?
Line item 550 is being reduced down to $250.
The printing line item.
Keep in mind, when we do this, what we're doing is not serving local print shops with things. We're coming up with ways to make our own stuff.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
What is the next one down? I know, okay, the dues and subscriptions, those are yearly dues. What is LRPC?
Dues and subscriptions.
No, but what is that? What
Local
is
Regional Planning Committee.
Lake Region Planning
It's
Committee?
going to be every bit of,
No, I understand. I was curious what it was. I didn't know. So we pay them yearly?
we're a member of Lakes Region Planning Commission.
Okay.
Yes, those are the annual dues.
Okay.
600 series.
620, I'd like to move to 500.
I'll move 620 to 500.
Second.
Motion by Luke, second by Brian, to lower line item 620 down to 500. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 700 series?
Well, I'd like to do 625 down to 300, but I don't know if, see, you said 730 under planning for postage.
Oh, there it is, right there's a 730.
It's showing up under planning department, not under planning board.
Yeah, so we have two.
Right.
Postage.
So you're over here and under there.
So some of it needs to be put back to,
I honestly am trying to
Planning.
figure out how I literally have sent $730 worth
I
of
don't know what
anything
you've
this
been
year.
doing. You've been sending letters out like crazy.
well, so those two need to be coded properly, then
Yeah,
the
then we-
planning
Correct.
department.
Therein lies the issue. If at all possible, I would like to reduce my request to 300 and 625, if that works
So
out
moved.
with coding.
On which one now? This one?
Yeah, we're going to move it
So
to
you're cutting both
Something's
postage,
askew between planning board and
Yeah.
planning department.
but didn't we cut the other one
You
too?
have revisit on the other one,
Revisit
so I
on-
think you don't touch this one.
Why don't we put revisit on this one and take a look at it and
Correct.
get it straightened out?
my
both of them, yeah.
suggestion.
Okay, I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay. So we'll revisit line item 625.
Say it again, Brad?
We'll revisit line
That's
620,
what
line
I
item
have. Thank you.
625,
Yep.
postage. 700 series.
I'd like to change the spelling of machinery.
Yep, we should definitely fix that.
I'm picky.
You know, we've had months to do all this. Tonight's not really the night we should be
Would you
doing all
believe
this.
tonight is the first time I've seen it?
I think we should put $1 in there for spell check.
That doesn't work.
Doesn't work, okay.
That's equipment.
800 series.
So on 800.
I'd like to move travel and meetings to 1,000.
Okay, I was going to push you more than that, but I think you've been pretty good, so I'll do 1,000.
Do you want to go to 750?
I mean, we have
750.
160 spent year to date. Maybe you spent some more in the last few months, but 88 in 2022. I mean, you didn't go anywhere that year.
76.
So if we could go to 750, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Do I hear 500? No.
Move line 810 to 750.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Luke, seconded by Linda to lower line item 810 down to $750. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And then just on the next line, I mean, was there some things coming up that you wanted to go, I mean, that,
So, previous to budget times getting so tight, my predecessors used to go to the National Planning Conference. This price at $2,000 was factored in going to the 2024 conference in April in New York City, but I'd like to take it down to $1,500.
okay.
1,500 it is.
1,500 it
So
is.
moved.
Yep,
And
second.
One of the reasons you didn't see a change from 22 into 23, you may recall the vote no on 2 through 10. That sort of really upset the apple cart for going to a conference in the middle of April.
Yeah,
for
sure.
This year.
Because we have a motion and a second on the floor to lower line item 820 down to 1,500. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Okay, so the next budget is the Brewster Building. Brewster Building budget contains a 7.2% or $11,739 reduction compared to 2023, and the bulk of this is projection is heating fuel budget. Yours, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Page 11, 100 series. 200 series. 300 series.
This is just a question more. Why was there $2,714 for outside service in this year's budget?
The 117 series person was out on medical leave, and we needed a part-time cleaner.
So that went into outside services.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
400 series. $600 series. $700 series. 800.
Okay, moving right on, Yep, you got something, Tavis?
Nobody bit at it, but in the 435 line, under building maintenance, I'm willing to reduce that by $2,000.
Which one's that?
Well, that's building maintenance.
Building maintenance, so on your breakdown, it's on my page 13, this little spreadsheet.
Okay.
There's $2,000 for town hall window cleaning.
Page 18, where, I don't have a page.
13.
Oh, page 13.
13.
Okay. Have we been doing that anyways?
No,
Okay.
because nobody wants to bid the job. So for the sake of $2,000, there's $2,000 you don't have to expend. They can be hit with a pressure washer, but it's going to be every bit of $2,000 plus to have somebody come in with a lift and do them. My point for bringing this up is that no one's noticed it hasn't happened in a couple of years.
Well, I agree, and we can clean the inside at least.
And in this budget, we can forget about washing the windows.
Well, we can do it on election day. We have free time.
So
There you go. We won Windex here.
You'll have it.
one of the other things I'm going to mention is just above that on the same spreadsheet is the Great Hall floor refinishing. That is going to happen hopefully at the end of this month,
I hope so.
which means $1,400 could come out of next year because it's not going to happen annually.
We do it annually.
We haven't done it annually since I've been here.
Well, then that's an error. Because once this got redone, we were to have the floors done every single solitary year.
Correct. It stopped during COVID and then didn't resume. So now we're back on track. So if you'd like to leave it, that's fine. That's why I didn't cut it originally.
If we don't, we'll lose these floors. It's important that they do. There are big marks all over the floors.
They do the stage too?
I believe.
Yep.
So we're reducing 435 by 2,000, which is the town hall window
Window
cleaning.
cleaning, correct.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion for that.
Second.
Motion by Luke, seconded by Brian. Any other discussion? The only thing I'll say about this is, if we left it in there, could that $2,000 be used to something else that we haven't been doing to the building?
I would love to do that.
Absolutely. So as of tomorrow, I have someone coming in to give us an estimate on painting those areas that critically need it. If
Okay,
there's
let's
more
leave it in
painting
there.
next year, I mean,
I'll withdraw the motion.
Well, we need to know what you're going to get done this year. Why don't we revisit this? And let's give us a list of all those things we're going to do. We got a little problem with the roof. We got a problem with the windowsill over outside the girls'.
Men's bathroom counter is like pulling away from the
Okay.
wall in there.
So you give us a
I can
list.
spend 2,000 faster than anything, but I'll show you what goes down and what stays.
Yeah, well, just get us a number on something.
Tell us what you're going to do that you haven't done this year and what you're planning to do the
Yep.
following year, and then we can decide about the 2,000.
One of the troubles is actually getting the employees. So getting someone to come in and bid something as small as the men's counter
Well,
and the windowsill, things like that.
I just had somebody contact me that said they will help wash the inside windows with people. If you get enough people, it's less than a day's work.
Okay, we have people for inside, but that's fine. We can go
I
from there.
think we're here, and if we put a bunch of things together, we may be able to get a repairman to come. We've got a bunch of buildings, so let's get that done. I mean, we can't not do these things.
Right.
So, Luke, will you withdraw your motion?
I withdrew it, yeah,
And
Brian. can you-
Brian will withdraw your second?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll revisit instead.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
435.
I'm sorry, so we're taking that off the cut list and adding it to the revisit.
Yes,
Correct?
right, thank you.
And he's going to come up with lists of this year and what he's proposing to do next year.
Yep.
Okay. So on the
Writing that down.
codes, code enforcement budget contains a 1.98% increase, most of that being wages and benefits. There are some offsetting reductions. One thing that I did not mention, telephone in all of the budgets have been broken out and placed into IT, I believe it is. So you'll see reduction in all the telephone lines.
Just for what I'm going to call town hall phone lines. So if you still have internet in your department, you were being charged that, but we went to a new phone system last year. And when I say town hall, that does include Parks and Rec, Libby. It just does not include police, fire, and library.
And MED.
And MED, that's correct, sir.
Okay, 100 series. 200 series.
But let me go,
Yep.
the supervisor salary, we have a 9.5% raise.
So if you recall, one of the things that happened to Jason Durant, our code enforcement officer, is he became a deputy health inspector.
Okay.
And as a part of that, I think he received a 4% wage adjustment.
Okay. Can we note that somewheres?
Sure,
So
we
that
can
the-
note that in the narrative of the wage line.
Yeah, so the budget committee knows that.
Yep. It does say deputy health officer, but we'll put in their wage adjustment.
Okay.
200 series, 300 series. $400 series.
Oh, wait, 300 series. Consultants, $1,000. $1,000 in '23, $1,000 in '24, but we've never paid any consultants.
And it's zero.
You're lucky.
Zeroed out.
It's zero now.
So why have we had it in there
In
before?
case you need a consultant.
And we don't need them anymore?
I'm not saying that. We haven't been pressed to need one yet.
Okay.
And the $1,000 probably won't cover it.
Okay. Just wondering why it was ever there.
A 400 series, 500 series.
I'd like to reduce $550 to $300.
550, yes. To 300? Nice.
I'll make a motion to reduce $550 to $300.
Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Luke. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 600 series.
I'd like to reduce 620 to 500.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Luke, seconded by Brian, to reduce line item 620 to 500. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Are we on 600s?
Yes.
Yeah, gasoline, 635. Is that based on the usage in 2023?
That's based on an average annual mileage and fuel by gallon, not by price. So we took the gallons that were used to create last year's number and multiplied it by the bid price and came out with that number.
We're using it as a placeholder for the actual unit price of,
Okay.
some
Correct.
people put $2.99, $3.01,
Okay.
but around $3. We will, as we did last year at the last moment, look and see what the price is. But that's the only one that nobody would bid on a contract for.
That's right, too, yeah.
So somewheres we should note this, that all the
All
gasoline
gasoline will be revisited,
bid.
yes.
Yes,
Yep.
we need that.
Heating
note.
oil, diesel, gas, all of it.
No,
No.
just
Just
gas.
gas.
Oh, just
The other
gas
one-
is a separate
Everything else
bid?
is locked in.
We'll lock in all the others, yep. Anything else under 600? 800 series.
I'd like to reduce 820 to 2,000.
Okay, can we do 810 to 500?
Well, let's do this one first and go
Okay,
back to it.
okay. He skipped one. That's
So moved.
Yes, he did.
2,000, okay, 2,000, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Luke, seconded by Linda, to reduce line item 820 down to 2,000. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And to answer your question, I'd be concerned about 810 because
Okay.
470, he just went to a course the other day.
Well, yeah, that's important for him to be going, he's
I
still,
I think I'd leave that
we'll
one.
leave it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sold. It's left.
First, you want me to cut money, and then you,
Well, we want to cut, well, we have to, but sometimes you can't cut.
Okay, so that is the bulk of Tavis's budget. He
Yep.
is done. Thank you, Tavis. We're on to finance at this point. Oh, did you have more?
Conservation?
Conservation,
My-
they
my
come in.
Conservation Commission next.
They come in later, I think.
EDC's later.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think those
Just
two are.
get me a letter. Okay, so next item is finance. Finance contains a 1.66% or $5,630 increase, the bulk of that being wages. There are several offsetting reductions, and Casey's here to be able to speak on behalf of this budget. Chairman?
Thank you. 100 series.
Yeah, hourly wages look like it's gone up a fair amount. Is that just a salary increase or more time?
It was a salary increase from last year that wasn't for the whole year for the HR Administrator Deputy Finance Director.
Nope. 200 series. 300 series.
Yeah, 301 audit, is that a bid price?
It is a bid price, but every other year I have to do other post-employment benefits valuation. So, and it's usually around $3,000. So I was able to bring this one down this year, but it will have to go back up next year.
Okay.
They do a 2-year study when they do it. So I'll be doing it in 25 and 2027. But yeah, we will be in our third year of, third and final year of the contract with our current auditors.
Okay. So it'll need to be rebid.
Anything else under 300?
Yeah, how about consultants?
Consultants.
Consultants.
0.
That is just to do projects if they pop up, if we have single audits, if we need extra money, if there's a lot of grant processing. But yes, it has trended not to be used much.
Could we cut that down to, you want 2,000? At 2,000, would that, you feel
Sure, thank
comfortable
you.
with 2,000?
Yep.
All right. We'll cut the 311 down to 2,000.
Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Brian. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anything else under 300? 400 series. 500 series.
550. It was cut some, but we've only spent $835.
Yeah, this is at the time where we have to print the W-2s, get the forms, W-2 envelopes, 1099s, and they happen to buy the envelopes at this time of year.
So you'll use that up?
That is
Okay.
that is the goal. Thank you.
Yep, okay.
Yep.
600 series. 800 series.
Okay, so our next budget is technology services budget. This contains a 12.6% or $38,630 increase over 2023, with the bulk of that being computer maintenance and software. We'll try to answer any questions that you have, Chairman.
100 series. 200 series. 300 series.
If I just may make a comment on page 10, I did put in a piece of paper here. It looks like this line item's going up. Jim mentioned it, the town manager mentioned it, where all the cuts came from that made up. So my budget is $14,380, which was a savings of $8,370.
Anything else in the 300? 400 series.
Unfortunately, line 2 and 3, Enquester software and support maintenance and third-party maintenance and Continental Utility Solutions is a duplication. That's why this line item is up $13,000. We're going to have some overlap with the current utility billing software and the new utility billing software that Brenda had mentioned earlier. So unfortunately, we have to overlap those maintenances until we can get all the data converged over to the new software.
Okay. 500 series. 600 series.
Office supplies, 620. Looks like it's been averaging between 2 and 450. Can we knock that down to 750 and save a little bit?
I'd be amenable to that.
Okay. Motion for 620 to 750.
Second.
Motion by Luke, second by Brian, to lower line item 620 down to $750. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 700 series.
Okay, computer software. Oh, it says, so you combined something out from 425?
No, that was prior history, but if you look at Squarespace, Libby, it's only $276. They were putting that on their own credit card, so we put it into the IT budget. And then the big one here is RecDex, Parks and Rec, we took out, and you will see this decrease in Christine's budget for
Okay, right
the
there.
RecDex program.
Is that rec desk, is that a yearly fee we're paying for that?
I'm sorry, I just didn't hear you.
Is that a yearly fee, the rec desk?
Yes.
Okay.
800 series.
I guess I could be in the spirit of something here, too. I did increase the 725 computer hardware. You have 108 units. I'm asking to replace 18. Block 5 usually asks me to replace like 25, and I think last year it was 12, so I did increase it. So if you want to bring it back down again.
Yeah, I had put a note on that, asking whether we could cut it in half. But is that a little bit too much? 18,
Half?
that means 9.
So the computers are getting replaced every 6 years? So somebody has them for 6 years?
That's correct.
That's a long time.
Some people have them for 10, but if we were to continue, if you cut this, it'll be more than 6 years.
No, I know. That 6 years is a long time. I don't know.
What we are trying to do, though, is if you're a power user, like you might get a newer one, and somebody might get a 3-year-old one, so they're trying to do that a little.
That makes
too.
sense.
But you do have a lot of computers in this town.
Yeah, I'm sure.
108?
Do anything with that, or leave it alone?
Probably should take,
You bring it down to 16 or 18?
Are they $800? They're $1,200 a piece. What are they?
well, they vary.
Either 1,000 or 1,200.
So if you went down to
10.
6 desktops and 8 laptops, that would reduce it a decent amount, right?
8 and 6, we're taking out 4.
Yeah.
And you're reducing the budget by 4,400.
I'd say we take those 4 out. You want to revisit it? Let's revisit it.
Yeah, let's
Okay,
revisit.
let's revisit. That sounds good.
That's good.
Okay.
Okay, we already hit the 800 series, so
Just as an aside, last year, Block 5 recommended and you all approved capital outlay a little over $60,000. We will be doing no capital outlay this year based on Block 5 recommendation, but I do have 2 capital outlay that Jim and I wanted to put forward.
Correct. So we have 2 capital outlays to review this evening, which are toward the end of your book. Page 1 is the powered DMS system, which Casey will be able to speak on its behalf. The documents are there explaining what the program is, but Casey can certainly talk to it much better than what I can.
They have not given me a quote yet, but police department in this year, so 2023, put it in their budget. It's a document management system. I believe it would be a good thing. It is for $8,000. Onboarding about $1,500 and the subscription of $6,500, which would be an ongoing thing. But the purpose of it is that everyone would have access to policies and procedures, and you have a sign-off process. I had it in my prior community, and then police picked it up. We do have to have a separate one for police because of confidentiality type of things, but it is a good document tracking, training system. So that is why I put it forward. If it's not the year, it's not the year, but I do believe it is a good product, and I feel I needed to ask for it at least.
I'd like to revisit it.
Yes.
And the next item, this is something that I kind of pushed onto Casey. Casey got the quote for us. Clean agent extinguishment system. So in our server room, there's numerous servers on a rack. There's also a lot of electrical switch gear that is all right now protected by sprinkler system. As you can probably imagine, sprinklers, electrical, servers, water don't make a good mix. A lot of our materials or our data on the servers are backed up remotely, but all of our servers to keep the place rolling is in a room that is currently protected by sprinkler systems. This is an item that we don't necessarily need to execute this year, given the budget process, but it's something that we really need to consider in the next few years if this board so chooses to remove it.
I'd like to revisit it, these two. I think we have to go down and see where we are at the end of this budget and what we take out and what we don't, and then I think we can really get a handle on the revisit items.
I just think for, because we didn't say the amount out loud, Jim, onboarding, it's about $10,000. The electrician would be about $6,500, and it would be a one-time cost. And I believe that's all for me this evening.
That concludes what's on our agenda for the evening as well.
How much did we cut?
I know I got 40 off.
I'll text you in the morning.
Let's see, I bet you 75.
I bet you.
I bet
I
you
thought you'd
six-
have a rolling tally.
I do, but it's in handwriting. I can't answer questions and calculate at the same time.
So with that said, Wednesday, or Thursday night rather, we do police, dispatch, animal control, fire, public safety building, ambulance, and there'll be a preliminary conversation about ambulance service and warrant article conversation.
There's also in the back here, an establish a capital reserve fund, IT. That was in our book. While we're here, shall we?
Okay. Because it was a year without any capital outlay from Block 5, I thought it's a great idea, and I do think it's a great idea, but again, it may not be the right year, to start a capital reserve fund, because you had 60,000 one year, 30,000, zero another year. So in order to smooth it out, if you were to create a capital reserve fund, you could put in some number, 25,000 or 50,000 every year, and that way you'd have the money to do these projects. So,
Yeah, we could put 500 in it this year.
Or maybe the $50. I mean, we can do
Yeah,
something.
we'll get it open, because that way we don't forget.
Yeah.
well, you can open them for $1, but again, I think sometimes the number of warrant articles you have, or, you know,
Yeah.
some people get,
Okay.
Oh, we're going to do some heavy cutting.
well,
I
So
already
do-
have my cuts.
I did put it in there. I thought it was a good talking point. I could put it on the revisit list, or we could just revisit it next year.
No, let's
Well,
revisit it.
I think it goes to our warrant article discussion, come out of the
Correct.
back of this book and into the warrant article
Correct.
discussion as we look at all the other warrant articles. I just saw it there, that's what made
Yes,
me-
thank you. I did sneak it in there.
You did, I saw it.
Thank you, guys. Very easy and thorough, and a lot of information there. Feeding, get us through that, so
Yeah, that went
thank you,
pretty
Jim and
smoothly.
Casey, on that.
Yep. I definitely, it'll be easy enough tomorrow to run these through the spreadsheet and come up with a revisit list and the cut list, and hopefully you'd have that for Thursday night, so you know what progress you made tonight.
That would be good.
Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
When are we going to?